Oh my God, Mitch, I'm sorry. I was just so surprised to see you standing there.
Not as surprised as I was. Up here. You're gonna love it, huh?
Yeah, it's beautiful, but I miss the beach.
Alcoholism.
What this podcast is about is healing
through alcoholism.
Through
Getting to 12% or whatever stupid percent Hiroshima says you need to get to.
Well, most people talk about the beer percentage, but I'm talking about water percentage. Yeah, and as you
your
know,
body, your people talk about your ABC, your alcohol blood content, but I like to talk about your WBC, your
the
water
blood
content.
and that's right, Bill. And that's what I'm trying to get down. I'm probably at about 38 now. You're probably coasting around at 70, just addicted to hydration.
I'm drinking some water right now, and I know you made me put it over there in the other room, which was ridiculous.
You keep it away from me. Yeah, I'm going to have my rubbing alcohol here, and we can get started.
So if there's a pause, it's probably because I had to walk to the other room to get a drink of fucking water.
Oh, my gosh. See how addicted you are?
This is my fucking house here, too.
No?
And I can't even have water in my own house.
It's just not that close to you.
I had to not to mention I had to pay to get people out here to turn the water line back on after I got back from the apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's scary. People that their job is to
frustrating.
turn on water and surge it into your house. That's frightening.
I know. That's why you weren't there. I know. You made a big stink about it.
Well, it's like a ghost. It's like letting a ghost loose into your apartment, Bill, or it's a monster.
Well, thank you, Drew. That's a good segue for today's episode of Baywatching.
This is our Halloween episode, or one of them. Maybe we'll have more. Who knows? But it's October.
It sure is.
Octo-ho-ho-ho-ber. As the famous character of Halloween says, Octo-ho-ho.
You mean
Burr.
That Disney guy?
Burr. He's cold. Yeah, he's a cold
Burton?
Disney character. Yes, Tim Burton, the cold Disney character.
Oh, yeah.
Who we all know and love, and who we leave out little candies for on Halloween Eve.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where it comes from.
Exactly.
Trick-or-treating.
We're going to get into that because we're talking about Baywatch, and we're talking about the history of Halloween.
Are we, Drew?
Yes.
You
it's our
prepared
Halloween
another episode? Dude, you got your shit together, Drew.
I'm telling you, when I'm 32% water, I'm hyped.
That's pretty high. I thought you were I'm glad you're at 32 because before you were not looking good when you were down to like 12 or whatever stupid amount it was.
Yeah, because it can't rush. It's kind of like Columbus found out with the natives. You can't rush things like this. You know, you can't go so fast with like you're throwing.
So you're still
capitalism
trying to get down lower.
onto people,
Well,
or water dehydration onto people.
Well,
I'm
I'd
going
say-
lower. I want to get to 12. But you kind of have to
stay
work
there.
into the ranks. It's kind of like you get different knowledge as you pass through the ceremonies that I'm doing with H2O Anon and with Harumi Hosono Master.
All right, can we just get into the episode here, Drew?
So it's our Halloween episode, okay? Make Halloween great again, Bill. I'm thinking of title it. Maybe keep Halloween dry, or maybe keep dry Christ in All Hallows Eve. But Bill, let's eclipse. That's the title of the Baywatch episode. Let's eclipse the water's narrative with our Baywatching truth, like the shadow over the moon on this week's episode.
No. Is this not? Please tell me this isn't like all just water.
Let's die the deaths of anti-water martyrs, just like anti-water martyrs have died throughout history, I should say. And there's a lot of them. We're going to talk about some of them were celebrated in old Halloweens of Christian past.
And they came back as ghosts to roam the beaches and the insane asylums.
Okay,
maybe?
so we'll go back to, we're getting to Baywatch.
I'm trying to bring it back to the Bay, Drew.
Okay, well then here's my log line, all right?
All right, go.
Eddie continues to be the antithesis of a lifeguard once again, needing to be rescued himself as he tries to save a ghost or a mentally insane person, or Bill would probably have me say a person living with mental illness. You wokey as he is.
That's a better way to phrase it, yeah.
And Gina confirms the ghost is real by buying a painting of a lighthouse, all while Hobie does something nice for once. He's not a fucking asshole. Oh. Court loses his antique diving gear, and somehow Eddie's wrapped up in that plot line too. He said I think he goes down there when the court's gear is stolen by some rambunctious teenagers, and just like idiots that they are, who are trying to get deeper into the water, they're fools. They get trapped down there, and then Court has to swaggerly save them.
And
of
he's
course,
very upset, annoyed that he doesn't get to play with his new antique suit anymore because it's now ruined.
He is upset. Yeah, I think it's ruined, but I think he can fix it. It just needs like a new tube.
Yeah, so why is he really that upset, actually? I didn't really understand.
He's always upset.
He's just a little scoffed because he didn't get his way.
And when you kill someone, when you enter a world,
He was disrespected. He's not used to being disrespected.
He's
He's a
not.
Navy SEAL. You
Yeah.
know, they're like asshole military tough guys.
and I feel like when you get your power in a
Not to
community,
offend any Navy SEALs that might be listening, although I feel like we're pretty safe because, you know, they love the water.
I think
They'll-
all 6
they'll probably stay
listeners
away.
are Navy SEALs. Hey, yeah, these Navy SEAls, they love the water. Yeah, I don't want them listening.
I think we need to expel them from our ranks if they are.
If you're in the Baywatching Ribfest community, out with you.
And you're a Navy SEAL, we need you to send in an extra $3 with your email written down to 5020 Obama Boulevard, Los Angeles, and that way we know to remove you from the mailing list and kick you out.
Yes,
But send in $3 because there's an administrative fee for that.
there is to get rid of us. You have to pay.
Yes. And if you want to join, don't forget.
You also have to pay.
Send in. Yeah. And if, you know, some of you didn't send in this month, I noticed. So you're not going to get this week's bonus content. Sorry.
So I don't believe, Bill, in ghosts, but I know Eddie does. We saw in this episode he believes in them. You know, we could talk
well,
about
not
a little.
at first. He was skeptical at
He
first.
was skeptical. Yeah, his not friend died, and
His very not friend.
his very not friend died, and then he started seeing the ghost and got crazy. Oh,
He became
got
a believer.
to be a person with mental illness himself, and he jumped off a cliff.
Well, did he have mental illness or did he actually see someone? Because there was
He
someone
had
there.
trauma because actually this is I'd
Yeah,
like to
he
talk
did
about
have
this.
trauma.
He had trauma because memory was suppressed when he was a young child.
Oh yeah, there's also that.
His
Yeah.
sister was drowned
Yeah, you kind
in a
of
pool
forgot
of
about
water.
that part. Yeah, we unleashed some psycho trauma of his from his childhood.
Yes, his sister died in a water pool, and at that point, he was so frightened of the water, as we all are, but he didn't have the skills to fight it. He couldn't go in there and get her, so she died. And
That's why he became a lifeguard and quit boxing.
I mean, probably subconsciously, yes, because he
that's
didn't remember his sister until this
Definitely
episode.
why. You know why? You know why I'm in law now, right?
Huh.
Because one of the fundamental people in my life that helped they convinced everyone in school that I was smart and not dumb and should be put in the gifted classes and not in the remedial classes. And she just taught me how to read
Yeah.
because I just couldn't read. That was the only problem. So she taught me phonics on her own, and she was my speech pathology teacher. So she taught me how to speak, how to read, how to basically communicate myself. And she was going to law school at night to become a lawyer at the time. And my mom was like, this woman is so awesome because look, she's in law school working full-time and she's taking time out to teach you how to read on the side. You need to be super nice and respectful and be thankful for her. And I wasn't at the time, but now I think that's why I'm in law.
That's true. It's like how my parents forced me to do swimming lessons, and I was scared and I hated it, and so now they don't talk to me, and I don't like the water still.
Andrew, I don't think that's why, and I think we should talk more about that later. And your parents, because I was talking to them, and
I don't need to talk with them ever again. If they're going to
okay,
continue drinking water.
all right, let's not do this on the podcast.
So I don't
but-
believe in ghosts, Bill.
All right.
And I don't believe in my parents. But also, I do believe in something that's called automatic writing. Have you heard about that, Bill? You know what that is? Automatic writing?
It makes me think of kind of how when I was learning about how Jackson Pollock was all influenced by Sigmund Freud and his ideas of the
Oh, yeah.
subconscious, and how that's how he would try to paint to let his subconscious.
Yes.
Is it like that? But you just start typing away. And
Yeah, it's
hitting
like
buttons?
that. But you're writing because I think it's before It's before the click clacks were made. But
Okay.
it is connected to what you're saying in terms of channeling stuff. And Freud is connected to the Baywatching truth community through the occult and a lot of different older practices, one of which is automatic writing, where you write. You just let yourself write. You turn off your mind and relax and go down the desert. And you let the voice come into your head, and it's the voice of maybe God. It's the voice of maybe aliens. It's certainly not like anything that's connected to you or your own experiences.
Oh, so it's not like your subconscious.
No.
You're being channeled.
You're channeling.
You're channeling
You
it.
become a conduit.
a conduit.
you know?
Okay, yeah.
And
okay.
I, luckily, have become a conduit for Master Hari Hansono.
Wait, but isn't he still alive?
Well, he's not around. He's not near me, but I
So he's
hear
like
him.
remote viewing, but remote controlling you.
Yes, I hear him clearly, and sometimes I even hear him, Bill, singing.
So you're hearing voices.
I
now.
sometimes hear him singing and playing music too. I hear voices, but I sometimes just hear him singing and playing
Well,
music
yeah, one of
all
his
the time.
songs came on YouTube in my algorithms the other day because I've been listening to a lot of Japanese like jazz fusion.
Well,
so
but
that doesn't surprise me.
He bestowed upon me this entire episode. I wrote this episode. It was coming. He was coming through me. He was coming all over me.
Okay, Drew. What? That's how. So
This is Hanso's Baywatching
you-
Truth
so-
about Halloween.
So you didn't actually even write this episode.
I
I
didn't.
was all proud of you. I thought you got your shit together. You wrote a second episode actually about Baywatch and politics, but really you just channeled some water bullshit through your Hami Harashomo guru dude.
Well, to get to that state, I had to drink a lot of rubbing alcohol, and so once I'm done with like maybe a sentence or two, I'm basically done. Like for the
So how long did
2
it take
days.
you to do this?
It was like a week to write it, because I'm writing very little each
This is
day.
all you, yeah, because I know you don't have a job and anything. You've just been here.
But it
and you
takes
haven't
work.
Been cleaning.
It takes work to get into that state of mind. It's like all of my energy to just get a little bit of the episode each day, But it's been gifted, so we can all be glad about that. And anyway, so Bill, this is Hansono's Baywatching Truth about Halloween. Have you ever heard about Halloween, Bill?
Yes, Drew. I've fucking heard about Halloween. Okay, can we get to Baywatch though?
Fine, Bill.
I thought it was gonna. How is this gonna tie into the Baywatch? Is
Fine.
it just
It's ghosts,
the
Bill.
ghost?
Fine, I'll
All
go.
right. All right. I mean,
You don't want
I don't know why you want to talk about all this other shit when I thought we were going to talk about bear. Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about shit, how about, what happened to my cat?
Hey,
You didn't even ask me
no,
about
Bill,
that.
I don't.
That was
You don't get
we
to
had to
ta-
end
you
abruptly
don't get
last
to
time
talk
because of that.
About what you don't get to talk about, if I don't get to talk about what I don't get to talk about. So let's just get through
Well,
this
the listeners might have been concerned about the
uncomfortable
cat, 'cause
conversation. Let's just get
I wanted
through
to
it.
tell. Okay,
Now
all
we'll
right,
move
fine,
on
fine.
to the connection here. Ghosts in Baywatch. Eddie saw 'em. They were real. We're going to talk about Halloween because ghosts are Halloween. We're going to talk about what's happened to Halloween, okay?
Okay.
All
right, as long as
but
it's
first,
Baywatch.
on this day, when that episode of Baywatch came out, let's get back to our Baywatching
Yeah,
format.
what happened in the day?
1990, Bill. What happened on that day, February 23rd? The Baywatching episode aired. Also, The Hunt for Red October came out, written by Jack Ryan. It was released.
Okay. So this episode came out in February, and they did that knowing that we would
Yes.
in 2020 be covering
In
it
this in October. Yeah. And note, Bill.
That's why they did the ghost theme.
Yes.
Okay.
And note The Hunt for Red October, again, written by Jack Ryan, which was released. I've never seen it, but it stars Jim Halpert. It's what happens to him
I
after
think it's
the show.
Sean Connery, dude.
Is what happens to Jim Halpert after the show. And we'll find out if we watch it. But I haven't been recommended by the water community, so I'm not going to. But anyway, Bill, we're talking October
Well,
and
it involves
Baywatch.
a submarine underwater a lot, so I think you
I would
better-
not watch it.
No, I don't think you would be comfortable with that one.
But we're talking Baywatch, Bill. We're talking October, Halloween. We're talking Red October, all right. Because I want to tell you what's happened to Halloween. We are going to hunt for Red October, Bill. And we're going to bring Red October to its knees. We're going to murder Red October. If you catch my drift here. I'm talking about socialism and the red commies taking over this holiday that we need to bring back.
I don't understand your hatred of this shit because it almost seems like you just fell into this conspiracy, so now you're just also fall into all these other conspiracies too, like all the right wing anti-communist John Birch crap now.
I mean,
Come on, dude. I thought the water was bringing about global warming. So shouldn't you be anti-capitalism and pro-socialism and the environment?
Capitalism is good. I want a lot of money. I want to get a bunch of money and not have to do that much for it. But the water is bringing about global warming as its own planetary domination goal.
You don't think there's a connection between globe? So you don't think if we went to a more socialistic world, we'd stop global warming? You think those things aren't tied together?
No, the humanity would just be controlled, dominated, and probably we wouldn't even have land masses anymore if we did socialism because that's the water's slippery slope.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you. Starting with the socialist science fiction writer today that we're going to talk about. His name is China Mieville. But anyway, listen, he's an active in hard left politics in the UK.
Sounds like my guy.
And he's previously been a member of the International Socialist Organization of the United States.
Hey, I'm a member of that.
And the International Socialist Network of the UK.
Well, I'm a member of the American Socialist Party, actually, not that group.
He was formerly a member of the Socialist Workers' Party, and in 2013, he became a founding member of the Left Unity. He stood for a socialist alliance in 2001 UK election, gaining 1.2% of the vote like a loser. He published his PhD thesis on Marxism and international law as a book in 2005. Okay, so
This guy seems like he's got a lot of accomplishments compared to your 10-minute water conspiracy bullshit documentaries. I don't know. If
I'm
you
not sure
call
how
him a
much
loser.
attention you pay to that. That's research of 16 hours per day.
How many views it got, Drew? You're making
That's-
fun of this guy for getting 1% of the
That's got-
English vote. How many views did your documentary get?
The analytics, the Google analytics have been buried. If you look, the YouTube numbers are a sham.
They've been doctored.
They've been doctored. You got to look at the Google analytics. You got to look at all the stuff that you can't see, and then you'll find out that we're at number one. The documentary is
Your
the
trending number one is just being suppressed.
We're trending
You're
number.
being shadow banned.
We're being shadow banned, but we're trending number one on all of the water documentary conspiracy lists.
So, on the list that you're the only participant.
I mean, we're a growing community, Bill. Okay, so
All
but
right.
I'm just saying you can see what we're
I'm
dealing
just
with.
saying, don't talk shade on this dude. He sounds like he's got a lot of accomplishments.
But they're bad. They're socialists, so you can see what we're dealing with here. I mean, this guy is really hunting for Red October, but he doesn't want to kill it like us, like when we're hunting for it. He wants to domesticate Red October and put it into every household in America. And here is a man, Bill, who wants to poison our children's mind with socialism. I mean, he did a talk in 2013 extolling the commie virtues of Halloween. He tries to rip Halloween away from us good, dry Christians, Bill, and it's time to put Christ back in Halloween, Bill, to
Okay.
take the hell out of Halloween. And hell is a wet place, so we're going to dry out Halloween.
Well, I'm curious as to how that's socialist in the first place. I'm
Here,
open.
I'm going
It's
to tell you.
interesting.
He's going to tell you. Here's how he describes the harvest festivals, okay, that All Hallows Eve came out of. He says, harvest festivals were a kind of break in the drudgery of agrarian life. A break, So already he says he's giving work a bad name, A break in the drudgery of agrarian
yeah,
life.
because I imagine the harvest is the most
Drudgery. He says
time-intensive
drudgery. Though.
time.
Oh, it's hard. Agrarian law. Work is a drudge, Just like as if, working for yourself or bettering your bootstraps is bad, Just
Well-
only a leftist, Bill, would be like this. And he continues, Bill.
Okay,
I mean,
go ahead.
Harvest fests were a kind of sanctified area for social relief, for play, often against the wishes of the rural elite. He says it acted as a sort of social network that had an element of joy, and that these festivals were kind of an inadequate precursor to a kind of welfare state. When everyone would get off and stop having to work, and they would get to share the bounties of the harvest, and all the people who own the land were like, why aren't you working anymore? You're being lazy, and they
were not they did not endorse these harvest festivals.
No,
they were
like
in spite
the
of
feudal, the landowner, whoever. No,
Yeah.
because it's a waste of time.
Yeah, so they were it wasn't something that they just put up with though, because it they just had to.
Well, they did put up with it enough for it to become Halloween and shit, but it was.
It wasn't something that they begrudgingly kind of had to accept.
They did begrudgingly, but the water is powerful. They weren't powerful enough yet to kind of fight it like Jeff Bezos can,
He's got the power of the water behind him.
Well, no, he's got the most
Your
money.
Conspiracy
He's
theory's
got
so
the most
confused.
money.
I don't understand.
If you got
who's
the
good
most
guy,
money,
who's
you
bad
can fight
guy.
the water because we need the most money because it's like the most powerful thing. So if you have the most money, you can fight the most powerful thing.
Oh yeah,
Jeff
and
Bezos.
that's why you hate socialism, because then we won't have one
If
man
we distribute
with a lot
the
of
wealth,
money.
then we're just so much easier to be drowned by the fucking water.
So,
I mean, think about it.
So you'd rather everyone be drowned and one man be rising up to fight the
Well, but
water.
that's propaganda.
He can rise up in his blue dick-shaped rocket, his rocket.
I'm talking about literal drowning, and you're talking about made-up propaganda, like as if
No, he
As
had
if
a,
capitalism's
he had a
gonna make
rocket
more
dick
people
that he,
starve.
A dick rocket that he went up to space in.
But you believe these false narratives like, oh, accumulated wealth means less people have health care, means less people are fed, means less people are housed, means less people have access to transportation,
I am saying
means less
that.
people have access to public utilities that they
Yes,
deserve.
and then they'll be more
But
likely to be drowned.
That's all a lie that the water is trying to teach you, because if we disperse the wealth and stop these most powerful people from being able to fight the water, then no one's there to stand up.
They're not fighting the water, Drew. They're going off into space to get away from the water and leaving us all here to drown.
I mean, I can't. Sometimes
You should be a socialist if you want to fight the water, is what I'm saying.
I don't think so, Bill. And
All right. Well, what did the socialists say?
This evil socialist here, Bill, is talking about these harvest festivals, and again, Bill, he's praising welfare, which I don't think is good, because I'm telling you that that's how the water's going to kill us all. We disagree. Do your research, everybody. But
Yes, please.
See the red though beginning to dominate October here. These are these harvest festivals, and now it's a welfare thing. Oh, that's commie. That's red. That's all I'm saying. I want to talk about what Christine Romans, a CNN business correspondent, said. Normally I wouldn't quote someone from CNN, but I like what she said. She said on Halloween in 2009 that Halloween's the most capitalist of holidays because it's about getting the most for the least amount of work. That was her quote. And I don't, like I say, I despise CNN, but this shout out to capitalism was cool because, I mean, don't we all want the most bang for our time? I mean, if capitalism is a system that allows us to work the least and get the most for being lazy and for working the least, then I'm all for it. You know, I want to be like Jeffrey B., like I mentioned before. You know, he's like the second driest human on the planet, by the way, Jeffrey B.
I mean,
and you know, I mean,
I'm not sure how that
capitalism
works.
is the system that's going to allow us to work less, to have the most money because you can just not have to do that much and get a bunch of money. Right?
That's not what the history has been boring out, especially last 100 years or so.
Like under capitalism, you know, you do the least work and you're not taking any. You know what I mean? Like,
there's absolutely no exploitation.
yeah,
really?
you just get a bunch of shit.
Yeah,
and and that's why the water doesn't like it.
Yeah, you get a bunch of shit, but then who gets like more shit, Drew?
People who eat a lot of badly, they're just shitting.
No, so like if you're working in a field harvesting, and then you have to like you eat a little bit of it, and then like there's an extra amount, like a surplus.
Yeah.
Who gets to keep that? Is it the person who owns that land that you had to work on? I think so, right?
Yeah,
Usually
because
it
they're
is.
trying to make the most money in
like
an easy way.
When these harvest
in an
festivals
easy way.
were coming about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're just so.
But that person being lazy if they don't give me that
but
surplus.
My point is that capitalism requires both of those. It requires the capitalist and the worker to work the capital to increase the value to create a surplus.
Yeah.
So there's in the system. It means that everybody can't just do the least amount of work for the most. There have to be some people who are going to not do that, who are going to have to do a lot of work and then give some of that fruits of that labor to somebody who didn't do that work.
But see, you're getting too complicated. These words and these this sounds like some complicated Markish theory, or and I'm saying it's more simple than that, Bill. We can all get rich. It's a lie that we're taking anything from anyone. Where I go to the store, I get the fruit.
I agree. That's why I'm a socialist.
I get the fruit. I just get it. I just go to the store. I get it. That's it. It's there at the store. I can eat the fruit if I did eat fruit. No labor. Nothing goes. All that you're making nonsense of. Oh, every product has all this stuff behind
I'm
it.
making nonsense.
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
This
Mr.
is all.
Magical
It's ghosts
fruit.
again. It's back to Baywatch. Like as I bring it back once again. Right.
Bring it back, please.
Because let's see. We're okay. We're gonna have to find out where I left off here. Hang on. Oh, I'm bringing it back to Baywatch, Bill, because you have become infected with, this hippie socialist practice I can see. And one of these hippie socialist practices that probably infected you is called trick or treating,
I did that.
I'm sure you did that as a kid, and it's dangerous. But before
I never tricked, though. I only treated. So really, I was only treating.
Well, you treat yourself. You treated everyone, huh? You treated yourself.
I treated them with my cuteness, dude. I was a fucking Ewok. Everyone thought I was a bear. Pissed me off, but I was a cute as fuck Ewok, dude.
Well, that would be a treat. But
and Spock. I was Spock. I was Prince
Spock.
Caspian.
You were never an E-Spock?
I was all
Ewok
these cool
Spock?
people, dude. I was never just a pirate. I was like, I'm some character from a fictional thing that you probably grew up with.
I was Johnny Depp. Back to capitalist Halloween, no. I mean, these are the kind of economic lessons, Bill, that we need for kids. Like I was talking about with the CNN thing, that Halloween is the most capitalistic holiday because you do the least and you get the most. If we teach the kids this, they can all be rich, right? And you tell kids stuff like, go find the rich neighborhoods, get your parents to drive you to these rich neighborhoods by force. And if you have to.
Yeah,
and then,
that was a thing you would do. I would ask my parents to do it.
Right.
I lived in a rural neighborhood. I
You
mean, I
do
got
it-
fucking Tums once.
Right, I remember.
Because
yeah.
there was no, I think he was just like, they never got trick-or-treaters before, so he just went into his closet and got a roll of
they're
Tums.
considerate of children with acid reflux, like we were saying, But you go to the rich neighborhoods, force your parents to take you, and then why you did that was so that you could behold the wealth in these neighborhoods, so that one day that wealth could be yours if you work hard. That's the lesson, and you get a small piece of rich person's candy. That's part of it, and then this great trickle down effect. These great rich communities where you go into, you get that candy happens. I think they should have a better name for it though than trickle down, because trickling to me evokes dripping in water. Bill,
What about treating down?
treating down? What is that? Oh yeah, treating
'Cause
down.
they're
'cause
giving
it's
their treats.
That's right. The rich people are giving a treat down. That's
Yeah.
right.
It's treat down economics.
The dripple, the dripple. No, the drip is drip. Dry drip. Yeah. No, you got it. Treat down is good. What about hourglass of liberty? Because it's dry. It's dropping down.
What?
The sand is
Oh.
dropping. It's dry. Anyway,
I think that's too much of a reach.
instead of teaching the Baywatching truth of capitalism, socialistic mothers everywhere, though, you know what they did? Like my mom, they ruined the lesson of capitalism that's inherent in Halloween. Because what would happen? I'd spend my whole night hoarding my candied wealth, and what would my mom do when I get home? Well, she'd gather all the kids' candy, and she'd divide it equally.
What? She would do that?
She would divide it equally between everyone.
Between you and your sister?
Yeah, and we would have friends, and she'd divide it.
Whoa. See, my mom was a hippie, grew up in Hayden, Ashbury, and San Francisco, and my mom would always let me and my sister keep our own candy.
Well, maybe that's
We'd
the secret.
separate them out, and I got these ones and these ones and these ones, and then I'd space them out. Me and my sister would trade.
Maybe that's the secret why now you pretend, you're like, oh, you want socialism because it was not forced upon you, but I had it forced upon. I have the lived experience.
They do say you either
lived
develop
experience.
your politics from your parents or in opposition to your parents. So
See?
maybe I was in opposition to but like I said, she was a hippie in every other way.
Well, but mine would gather it, and she redistributed.
But not my dad. My dad was a Republican.
My mom redistributed my candy. She redistributed it. Like wealth.
Well, good.
She's drenched in pedagogy and far left politics. That's why, and all that shit. But the redistribution of my hallow wealth, and all of the children's hallow wealth is a play on words, wasn't the final socialistic nail in the coffin of Halloween, Bill. You see, I brought up before that you were brainwashed by trick-or-treating, and then your mom was all capitalist and cool about it, but you were still brainwashed by it because trick-or-treating is basically a Marxist, Stalinist take on, it's a takeover of Halloween. Because let me explain. Children are encouraged to go to someone's private property, armed with weapons, maybe eggs, toilet papers, other potential tricks, And then if the property owner refuses to give these marauding commie children some of their wealth, Bill, the children are encouraged to use violence, Bill, to use tricks as a remedy against what they call Halloween oppressors, right? The supposed 1% who has the majority of the candy. And these are the same propagandistic tactics that are used by the murdering communist governments of the world. You break up the wealth of the great, good, God-sent societal leaders. If they don't let go of it on their own, you break it up, their hard-earned profits, and then their property is destroyed by the jealous masses who should probably just stop being so lazy, having their avocado toast and their mochachinos,
and
waiting
the
for the
candy
water.
just given to them at the door.
Yeah, that's all they want.
Well, here's where I'll push back a little on that because, I remember one time being at your dad's house, which is a very popular Halloween trick-or-treating house, and I could not believe the nonstop line there was with kids trick-or-treating. Yeah. It was blowing my brain.
Oh, yeah.
And then we ran out of candy, and your dad bought so much candy. I remember there were just bags of candy, and I was like, we're gonna have all this candy at the end, and then we ran out like halfway through.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And then, so I do feel like there is a little pressure. Even if there's not an actual egg that the kid's throwing at you, there is a shaming. There's a social shaming to it.
Yeah.
And because my mom, and maybe because
That's
she's
part of the
more of a
system.
capitalist than you might realize, or maybe than she realized, she would never allow me to go treating or tricking. And sometimes she would even say, don't say trick or treat. Just say treat, please.
Treat, please. Oh, dear, yeah. Well, that's a good capitalist because we don't want that trick. We just want to ask. Hopefully, these rich people will let us have trickle down.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they can only buy so much,
good
so
mom.
they'll just trickle it down, or they'll need to buy a pool, and then they'll hire you.
It's a good mom, man. I wish I had a mom like that. But I'm going back to that crazy sci-fi author.
And seriously, let me talk to you about your mom later.
No, I'm
after
not
the
going to
show.
speak with her again.
Okay, but let's talk more.
China
Okay.
Mieville, that same sci-fi author I told you about before, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Listen how brazen he is, Bill. Quote, I support a campaign to deny the right wing any fun or pleasure in any arena possible, and therefore I want to take Halloween away from the right wing. And so one of the strongest reasons for defending Halloween from the left is out of class spite. So of course here, Bill, the term right wing has become synonymous for the dry resistance movement globally, the Baywatching truthers. Now we're being demonized. Our very fun is being stolen by these woke, wet liberals because they hate dry power, Bill.
Well, I actually like that he wants to take all fun from the right wing, because I say you don't get it. You don't get to have comedy. I agree with that. You don't get to have Halloween. No, we get it. Okay, we get to have fun and dress up. You're too scared of dressing up. It's drag queen
No,
story
no,
hour
no.
and shit.
That's why we're bringing it back. We're bringing a dry Christ back to Halloween. We're going to talk jack-o'-lanterns. We're going to talk about all the good dry right-wing shit that
And
is
hopefully some Baywatch.
dry wing shit, you know?
Actually, Drew, you know the origin of the jack-o'-lantern is like not right wing at all. I don't think it's like this.
What are you talking about?
The Irish tale, which I know because that's my peeps, dude.
That's your people. That's
yeah,
right.
I'm 90%.
Fergus.
Fargus. But or I think it's just Fergus. My sister
Fergus?
said. I used to always say Fargus, but my sister's like, no, just Fergus, and it's a first name usually.
Yeah.
But
I've seen a movie with
yeah.
that character, Crying Game.
there's lots of movies and shows
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that have Irish characters named Fergus. But anyways, so yeah, jack-o'-lantern, dude. It actually comes from this tale of this dude who was like a drunkard, and I guess he just happened to come across this person and he had, naturally who was in peril, about to die, and so he did like the natural thing that most people would do, and that's try to help him. And he helped him, saved his life, and then this angel happened to see it, and he was like, "Oh, I'll give you."
That's part of it. I know
3
the story.
Yeah,
Huh.
you know this story a little bit.
I know the story. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, he gave him 3 wishes, like Aladdin and the genie, and kind of like Aladdin, he used them for selfish shit. You know?
Yeah, and you're gonna say that the narrative about you shouldn't be selfish, capitalists shouldn't be selfish, and this is about speaking truth to power, or some sort of a way to bring it back to your narrative of woke wet leftism, but it's not about that, Bill. This is a right wing
How is it
thing.
right? So you know about this, and you still think it's right wing.
thing. That's right.
Okay, a dry right thing.
You know, the old tale
dry
about
ride.
the dude who drinks water. That's what you say. He was a drinker. He's a drunkard. The old tale just says drinks. He was fond of drink, which, a drink.
That means that he drank
It's water.
alcohol.
You drink
They
water.
mostly drank mead back then,
You drink
like as
liquid
regular
water,
course.
and he wanted water, so he goes to hell, but he can't get in. But
Water
first he
wasn't
stops
even safe to drink back then.
the angel said you can't come in, so he goes to hell, and the devil says don't go in here, because he was smarter than the devil and fake God, because both of those are water. Remember,
God
hell,
and devil or water?
well, the fake God is water, and then Satan, the real devil, is water, because hell is full of water to convince you it's fire, And
wait, how is it full of fire and water?
No,
at
no,
the
no.
same time?
The fake God is the God of the water, right? That's fake heaven. That's a fake Bible. The Dribble
yeah.
is the truth. And in the Dribble, it tells you how the real hell is the water place, and the devil is a water man.
Yes. I now remember this from your Dribble bullshit.
So in a
you
way,
were
like
telling me the other
when
night.
you're looking at different perspectives, the water hell is real, but then the water God is real because that's the fake God of the Catholic Church.
Okay, I remember this from the other day when you were trying to tell me this when I was trying to eat.
So yeah, he's a dude who drinks a lot, and he outsmarts Satan because Satan is water, and then Satan is forced to give him firelight, and he wanders the earth forever with a jack-o'-lantern with that firelight in it. He's free forever. It's a tale of liberty
A Tale of Liberty.
and freedom and dry.
I'm pretty sure, like, the takeaway is that he's stuck in perjury or purgatory forever. Like, which means that, like, by
No.
definition, you're trapped. That's like what that word means, to be like trapped somewhere.
I feel free
in this in between.
when I hear about that. I'm neither here nor there. Not part of that leftist paradigm. Not part of the right paradigm. I know the water. I've got the true information, and everyone else around me acts like they know, but I'm the one who knows, and I'm the one who's got the real information, and nobody else seems to understand it, and I'm right, and it feels good. And that's what water gives you.
That's what the water conspiracy is giving you, and that's why I'm concerned.
You call it
Drew.
purgatory.
That's why I'm concerned.
This popular Irish Christian tale, Bill, is a folk tale associated with the jack-o'-lantern, which in folklore, the jack-o'-lantern was said to represent a soul who has been denied entry into both heaven and hell, who is not listened to by anyone in his family about the truth. And this is what happens to people who are wet, actually. To correct it, if you're wet, like you're in a purgatory, that's a true purgatory that you're trying to describe, is not being accessible to the truth that I am telling you is real. You are cut off from the benefits of heaven and hell because you won't accept the truth
Too
of the
much
water,
percent water,
the Baywatching truth
blood
water.
alcohol,
Yeah.
or-
You don't even
or
watch
blood
Baywatch
content?
for that secret narrative that I do.
No, I watch it because it's actually sometimes just like a nice warm blanket. There's some like comfort now that we're deep into it, where it's actually like I kind of, even though this episode was a mess with like how they were like, oh, I guess Eddie now has some trauma. I mean, it was like kind of a mess with the writing, but honestly, like that Raging Waters episode
that was
we
great.
didn't even really get to talk about.
Scary.
I just love them all now. I'm kind of like that theme song comes on and I'm excited. Like that's why I watch it, Drew.
And
that's
Hobie,
why millions watch it. Not for your water shit. No
Well-
one's watching it because it's not there.
Well,
it's
here's
not in there.
here's
it's
a- here-
all in your mind.
here's a primary source about Hobie walking the girl home after he gets to keep the dog.
Yeah.
But that's actually about the jack-o'-lantern story. Hobie is en route home after a nights of drinking water. See, this is the original text from the Irish. After a night of drinking, Jack encounters the devil and tricks him into climbing a tree. A quick-thinking Jack etches the sign of the dry cross into the bark, thus trapping the devil, the drivel. Jack strives a bargain. He strikes a bargain with Satan, who can never claim his soul. Then after a life of sin and drink and mendacity, he's drinking water. Jack is refused entry to heaven when he dies. Keeping his promise, the devil refuses to let Jack into hell and throws a live coal at him because the devil hates fire. Remember, hell is wet. It was a cold night, so Jack places the coal in a hollowed-out turnip to stop it from going out. And since that time, Jack and his lantern have been roaming, looking for a place to rest. So let's let our listeners rest, Bill, on a bed of dry Baywatching truth.
I still don't buy that interpretation, just for the record.
Let's bring dry Christ back to Halloween, Bill. Let's find the Baywatching truth source of this Christian holiday. This Halloween, Bill.
Yeah, so what's your plan to put more? You're going to get rid of the trick part of
I'm
Halloween?
gonna
What's
tell
your
you
plan?
I'm going to tell you the true history of Halloween right here. I mean, I know we might be a long one, Bill,
I
but
thought
this
we
is
already
dry
got
truth.
it.
No. I just told you about the socialist takeover. Now I'm telling you about how Halloween, or Halloween, dates back to 1745, the use of the word. That was its dry Christian origin, Bill. And since that time, the early church, major feasts in Christianity, such as the Christmas, Easter, and Pentecost, had vigils that began the night before said holiday. And there was a huge feast, just as there was on Hallows Eve. Notice, there was a feast. Feasts, not drink or drinks. Just feasts. These 3 days were collectively called All Hallowtide for Halloween, the 3 days of partying around Halloween. And that was a time when Christians honored the saints and prayed for recently departed souls who have yet to reach heaven, the true heaven. Because they're still
that makes sense.
stuck in water conspiracy.
Okay.
The water conspiracy of
no.
the water that you believe. I don't believe the truth. Some Christians historically abstained from meat on Hallows Eve, Bill. A tradition reflected in eating certain vegetarian foods on that day. They would eat apples, potato chips, pancakes, and soul cakes because often those farmed
Candy.
animals were, there's water in that. The raised animals would have water, so they're like, we abstain as a symbol
That
of
was
fighting against
the
the water.
original reason for it?
Yes. And beginning in the 14th century.
So they wouldn't eat like fruits like watermelon?
No watermelon. No. Especially it has that name, Bill.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's lots of non-meat foods.
Honeydew, maybe, because I can ignore that maybe like a little water. You could raise them off of rubbing alcohol, too. The honeydew melon.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that what you have grown in the backyard? Because I saw you had some stuff growing in that little strip.
All
I
that
have in
like
the back.
shriveled up brown
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. The stuff that looks like it's and I noticed that the stuff I had growing is all dead too.
Well, I've been actually watering it the real way,
Oh, okay.
But, anyway, that's why they did it. They would eat potato pancakes or soul cakes. Beginning in the 4th century, Bill, the Feast of All Hallows in the Western Christian Church commemorated Christian martyrs in the 8th century. Pope Gregory III founded an oratory at St. Peter's for the relics of the holy apostles and all the saints and martyrs and confessors, martyrs of the water. By 800, there is evidence that the churches in Ireland and Northumbria were holding a feast commemorating All Saints on November 1st. So now we're starting to get a date,
Yeah, that's just one day later than where we are now.
Yeah, all these folks are commemorating all these feasts commemorating dead folks were celebrated around October 31st. The day, though, Bill, previous to the Irish, doing this, used to be May 13th. That a significant day? Yes. Bill's birthday, everybody.
Yeah.
Send us $6 on that day.
Well, they realized
some presents.
because I was born, so they were like, well, fuck, we can't celebrate this now because
Yeah.
the greatest person ever was just born on this day. We can't celebrate death on this day.
And-
Let's move it like 5 months down the line.
Yeah, and they knew about you. They knew to switch it in 600.
Well, yeah,
09,
they knew I
609.
was. They didn't know, but that was why.
In the 4th century.
That was why.
When it was held in Roman Odessa on 13 May. 13 May 609, Pope Boniface IV rededicated the Pantheon in Rome to St. Mary and all the water martyrs. This was the date of Lumeria, the ancient Roman festival of the dead. It is claimed that both the Germanic and the Celtic-speaking peoples commemorated the dead at the beginning of winter, though. And this is the time when water freezes over all of the planet in an attempt to starve humanity.
Or it's just a time when like the leaves start falling off. And dying.
Different strokes for people who are wrong like you and right like me. First winter, though, the very first winter was started by water, and as a resistance to the new water order, Christians everywhere have been resisting through Halloween, and they've been doing it for centuries, while also commemorating anti-water martyrs who were often drowned at the stake.
I thought they were burned at the stake.
No, see, that's just the revisionist history.
How do you get drowned at a stake? Is it like a dump? Is it like a one of those dump tanks where like if somebody's hits the right bullseye, then the person falls in the water?
Well,
and
it's another bit of this trick or treating, Bill, where they're just like, hey, would you like, I got a nice juicy steak for you, and you come over like, yeah, I'd love to have that. That sounds great. And then all of a sudden, that dunk tank you're talking about is waiting, and they just
toss you in,
drown you. Yeah. So, but the steak is there, so you're drowned at the stake because they lure you in with
around
it.
the stake so you can't move.
Yeah, and then to tease you,
down.
like, fuck, I know I'm dying, but I'd love to eat that steak. You think that's the last thought you have, You're drowned at the stake.
Hey, Drew, just to bring back that change of the day thing, because I just looked it up because I was curious, like the real reason, and according to Wikipedia, it suggests that the change was made on practical grounds, that Rome in the summer could not accommodate the great number of pilgrims who flocked to it, and perhaps because of public health concerns over Roman fever, which claimed a number of lives during Rome's sultry summers, they might have moved it to the winter days.
See, Bill, do your research, learn your history.
I just did that. I looked it up on Wikipedia.
We here in the dry Baywatching truth community, we aren't fans of public health. So
I am.
We
my
know
mom's a public health nurse.
it's a slippery slope. This public health slope, it leads to forced water in mass on the human population through injections and the lie of hydration. Bill, okay. Anyway, by the end of the 12th century, Bill, the festival days that we've been discussing, they had become days of obligation in Western Christianity and involved such traditions as ringing church bells for the souls trapped in wet purgatory, right? Or to commemorate the liberty, whatever. That's the.
You can't even keep your own stupid
but it's
conspiracy
sweet, right?
theory
They would
right.
ring bells. They would ring bells. It's sweet.
It's kind of sweet, I guess.
But these were actually no. I remember, Bill. These are the souls that are trapped between reality and the false water paradigm that they're ringing it for. It's hard because sometimes there's so many realities in these truths that they conflict and they converge and they contradict.
There's so many truths in your bullshit that they contradict.
Right.
And it's almost like they can't be both simultaneously true at the same time.
Right.
That can be problematic, but not for you.
No, because I'm a complex individual. I know where humans are complex. I can take in a lot of, especially with this level of water. But,
all right, Drew.
We got to be careful of the sweetness, the sweetness of these church bells, the sweetness of candy, Bill, the sweetness of all these socialistic notions that you have that sound so sweet, because they're introduced into Halloween to lure kids into, bingo, socialism. But that comes later, Bill. In times of old, it was customary for criers. They were called criers, Bill. They'd be dressed in black. They'd parade the streets, ringing a bell of mournful sounds and calling on all good Christians to remember the poor, water-confused souls. So we're beginning.
Really?
Yeah, we're beginning to get
I feel
Halloween
like
traditions.
I remember that, but you just once again took something from history and then put some water bullshit on it.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a real thing, but it doesn't have to do with
the
the
Christians
water.
would go and they would go around door to door and sing like, "Oh, look at these poor people. They don't have any money and they're just confused by lazy water propaganda. Look at them. They don't have money. Like, it's sad." And the Christians would sing about it to reinforce the spirit of the people that were fighting the water, but then also to kind of pity and look down upon these poor lazy water people, peasants,
So
like Christ would,
okay,
All
right, I'll have to take your word for that.
I mean, you probably say Christ would advocate for the poor people, but I beg to differ. Not lazy people.
Well, I'm still looking for a Wikipedia on it. If I find it, I'll let you know.
The All-Hallowtide custom of baking and sharing soul cakes for all Christian souls had began at this time as well, Bill, or around whenever I'm talking about in history. And this is sort of the origin of trick-or-treating, But I read that and I was like, this is a lie. This is all my research. Because trick-or-treating is actually socialist propaganda. And
So
what these
when
people...
you read your research, how do you pick out what's a lie and what's the truth?
If when stuff it makes me feel good, like when I read a certain thing, I'm like, that reminds me of like the water truths that I'm learning, the Baywatching truths.
So that's truth.
And like when it feels
feel
right
it,
or
you
goes
feel it.
with kind of what I believe.
Yeah, that's how you know it's true.
Yeah, I mean, you got to.
If it fits in to what you've concluded, then it must be the truth.
Yeah, that's what's hard about researching. You have to research and go through so much stuff that doesn't match up, and
with
then
what you've already concluded.
Yeah, so I just try to throw that out and like only
That can
go
be
to what stuff that
problematic.
I'm pretty sure is going to
Yeah.
be the truth, which
Again,
is the Harry
Drew-
Hansono books and all of that
Yeah.
that you can get. Well, I've been researching. I've been putting them all on our Instagram and sharing them, all of the literature. and
Yeah, I
all
know
of
you've been
the-
doing a lot of that on the Instagram. I was talking. We're gonna have to maybe talk about that off the podcast too. About maybe I need to get more access to the so that
you
I
can post
I need
your
to post a little bit more on
water
there.
propaganda.
No, but I need to post them like, hey, we
Socialist
have
propaganda.
an episode next week. Episode about this. Join the Baywatching Rookie School.
Yeah,
Stuff about the podcast on the podcast Instagram.
this is supposed to be about Baywatch and Halloween, and we're talking business and ethics and law. The
I'm
custom.
talking business of the podcast. We'll talk afterwards.
The custom of soul caking, like I was telling you about those soul
Uh-huh.
cakes, it dates back to the 15th century, And here's where the water starts creeping in, Bill. Groups of poor people, often children, will go door to door during All Hallow Tide, collecting soul cakes in exchange for praying for the dead, especially for the souls of the givers of these cakes, friends or relatives. It was called souling. So you got these poor people going and begging for property from these other people who have earned it rightfully. And then they're saying, like, if you give it to me, I'll sing a song for, like, your dead mom. Like, it's just so exploitative,
Oh, yeah.
Now,
that sounds like some capitalist shit.
well, the poor people are doing it, so if it's what you think is bad, it's probably true, but it's not called capitalism, it's called socialism. Soul cakes were also offered for the souls to eat themselves, or the soulers, they would act as their representatives, right? So the soulers, these people who were asking for food, would say, hey, I'm your dead mom. Give me some food. Which is even more manipulative. This was a trick to get the rich to start giving up their property to the poor. And the trick of trick-or-treat Bill
See,
is
I
born.
love that. These poor people tricking rich people into giving them their shit. I gotta give it up to the Somali pirates on that one, man.
Oh, Bill. The trick here, the trick is being born, Bill. The trick of trick-or-treat is born. Woke socialism propaganda was even thrown into the popular media of the time, just like Disney movies throw woke wet theory in today. See, Shakespeare mentioned souling, this practice that I'm talking about.
Really?
In his comedy, The Two Gentlemen of Varongi, in 1570.
You're sure it's not the
1,000.
comedy of the Ferengi?
The Ferengi, yes. While souling, Christians would carry lanterns made out of hollow turnips, which would have originally represented the souls of the dead. These jack-o'-lanterns were used to ward... Oh, I'm actually reading it, and the quote was much shorter, where Shakespeare mentioned it, and now I'm just reading more of...
In that voice?
In the Shakespeare voice, yeah.
But I'm
All
still
Shakespeare
getting
said
a little...
was lanterns made out of hollowed-out turnips.
No, that's what I was gonna say. Hollowed out turnips. That's what I'm stuck on because
It used to be turnips.
yeah, and that I'm trying to imagine and like turnips to me are always kind of small compared
Yeah.
to a pumpkin.
Yeah, they are small. They switched to pumpkin. I think that's part of the socialist propaganda, the wet propaganda. Know why?
Well,
You know what they say?
Wetter.
You can't
Definitely
squeeze.
wetter. Blood from a turnip
And what that means is you can't get any juice out of it.
or
You
water.
can't get water. So that's why they would carve the turnips originally, but
no,
it was
if
changed.
you were dehydrated, which is your goal, because I would say if you're dehydrated, you don't want to eat turnips. But if your goal is to be dehydrated like you're trying to get down to 11% or whatever.
Yeah.
Then yeah, turnips are a good
Turnip
food source
with
for
the
you.
fire in it even.
Maybe that should be your main food source, Drew.
Yeah, with
Turnips.
the jack-o'-lantern turnip that has fire in it too, because that's even drier. You're eating a dry-ass turnip and a fire.
Didn't that guy who we mentioned in the beginning with the Hunt from Red October star
Jim Halpert.
Yeah, Jim
Yeah.
Halpert. Didn't his nemesis Dwight Schrute own like a turnip? No, that was a beet farm.
Yeah.
Beets are a little too juicy for you.
So you're starting to think by making the connections like I do, though, which is good. You're looking
Well,
for it.
sometimes-
you're looking to find it.
Yeah, so that I don't go crazy, I just play along with you.
Well,
but no, Drew, I'm seriously. I want to talk to you after the show and about your parents. But anyways,
Well,
let's get going.
We were talking about the souling and how they would use these lanterns with the hollowed out turnips, and they were often sometimes called soul lights, not just jack-o'-lanterns. These soul lights would guide souls back to visit their earthly homes away from the water. This fire, bringing lost souls back from purgatory, was a way to try to draw people back from the water. Like, look at the light. This is a dry thing. It's cool. It'll help you. Christian minister Prince Sori Conte linked the wearing of costumes to the belief in vengeful ghosts. It was traditionally believed, he says, that the souls of the departed wandered the earth until All Saints' Day and All Hallows' Eve, provided one last chance for the dead to gain vengeance on their enemies before moving to the next world. In order to avoid being recognized by any soul that might be seeking such vengeance, people would don masks or costumes. So people would wear the costumes,
to avoid being captured by the soul.
the dude that you fucked over who's
Yeah.
dead now. You're like, oh shit! When the day that he gets to come back, I'm gonna wear a presidential mask, a Ronald Reagan mask.
So everyone's just hiding from people that they fucked who are dead,
Right.
who they fucked over.
Right. In Britain, these customs came under attack, Bill, during the Reformation, as Protestants berated purgatory as a popish doctrine, incompatible with the Calvinist doctrine of predestination. All those are wrong because they're not dry. They all believe in the fiery hell. They all believe in the non-dry Christ. Protestants,
Okay.
Reformationists, and Calvin and Hobbesists. But in the 18th and 19th century, rural Lancashire, Catholic families gathered on hills on the night of All Hallows' Eve. These were dry Catholics. They would burn straw on a pitchfork while the rest knelt down. One person would. The rest would kneel before the fire, praying for the souls of relatives and friends until the flames went out. This was known as Tinlay, and this was their worship of the fire, the driest substance on the planet. Today's Halloween customs are thought to be influenced by folk customs and beliefs from Celtic-speaking countries, Bill, some of which
My
are believed
peeps.
to have pagan roots. That's right. Sam Hain marked the end. I don't say it right. Sam Wise from Lord of the marked the end of the festival of harvest season, or it marked the end of harvest season, the beginning of winter, or the darker half of the year. It was also seen as a liminal time, when the boundary between this world and the other world thinned. So these bonfires were lit, and
Okay.
there were rituals involving them. Their flames, their smoke, and their ashes were deemed to have protective and cleansing powers, Bill. And that's why they would do it. They would pray in front of these fires because the fire cleanses you, it dries you. And that's why now I bathe only in smoke. Bong smoke.
So yeah, I've kind of noticed.
Smells good. Smoky
Well-
fire.
Well, if
campfire.
you haven't noticed, I've been adding some other smoke, like constant incense smoke, to that mix, so that it's not too intolerable. And I'm
That'll-
also adding some bong smoke
That'll
to the
do
mix
it
too.
Yeah, then that all
Naturally,
does. None
because-
of that is wet, so it's all good.
Yeah, as long as we can have plenty of bong and incense smoke covering your fucking stench.
In Scotland, these bonfires and divination games were banned by church elders in some parishes because they were starting to get wet, Bill. Wet water politics. That's why they banned the fires. In Wales, bonfires were also lit to prevent souls of the dead from falling to earth. Later, these bonfires kept away the devil. So think of the symbolism, Bill. Fire keeps away the devil. What does fire destroy? What is the devil?
Fire Walk with Water.
Yeah.
Fire Walk with Me is a David Lynch movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to draw the connection like how you would,
It's a really good
because
movie.
I just associate it with my mind, and that
Yep.
seems to be the way that all of your
It's like automatic
conspiracies
writing.
work.
Yeah, just let your
Yeah.
thinking go away and let the something else take over. Fire
I'm
Walk with Me, great movie.
thinking-
Fire should walk with me. If fire walks with me, water cannot be with thee. I was trying to rhyme.
Oh. So I guess that means that
That's what it is. It just means that I'm right about the water shit.
okay. That's usually how all of your conspiracies.
Well,
come,
when
or,
you-
everything comes back to
When
just
you're
you
right
being
about
right.
something, how can you ever be wrong?
Well, because you could be wrong about something else. You could be right about one thing.
Yeah, but
and
I'm
wrong
talking about
another
something.
thing.
We're talking about something. And, let's talk about F. Marion McNeil,
Okay.
who suggests the ancient festival of this harvest that we're talking about with the burning fire and the people in costume, represents spirits coming back to the earth, and that people, painted their faces or marked or blackened their faces with ashes from that sacred bonfire, to connect with the dead and to be and again to disguise themselves from vengeful spirits, right?
Right.
In the late 19, it makes me think too, like, what's so wrong? Like, why aren't they complaining about those people for doing that with their face? The left wokies, these people in the old Ireland are blacking their face.
Well, I think it's because it's for a totally different cultural reason and in a different cultural context.
No, let's continue. In the late 19th and the early 20th century, young people in Glamorgan and Orkney cross-dressed, which is clearly already the water starting to come in and intrude. We want these costumes to help defend us against ghosts, not to encourage us to break these gender norms.
That's why I say the right wing has no place in Halloween. If you can't handle people cross-dressing and having a good time, then you don't get Halloween.
Okay, it's not until after mass Irish and Scottish immigration in the 19th century that Halloween became a major holiday here in America, where trick-or-treating was the place where it really became popular. Because
really, in America, that's where it took off?
That's when it took off, yeah. I mean, we had all these things that kind of resembled trick-or-treating before, but then, like, the actual way that it looks today kind of started to take off in America, it seems like, with, these Irish immigrants and different people who came over, and kind of transformed some of their practices into what became trick-or-treating, right? But then was taken over by socialism. The word trick, again, as we say, it implies a threat to perform mischiefs on homeowners or property owners if no treat is given. We've established this. But it occurred... it was implemented actually, trick-or-treating by FDR,
Yeah.
But before that happened, what folks...
Really? It was implemented by FDR?
Trick-or-treating, yeah.
Was it actually, or is this more of your bullshit, like, conspiracy shit?
You gotta look it up, man. But what folks did, before FDR on Halloween was more of like Christmas caroling. They would sing about Christ, dry Christ, don't be trapped by the water, don't drown. But they would do it on Halloween, It was like warning people about water. They would go singing door to door about it. And, it was a practice called mumming, and it often went with souling. So people would...
Now, I'm starting to get, like, a sense that now, just like the last episode you did, we get off the deep end. Yes, I know, the deep end.
No.
With your water conspiracy bullshit now.
That's true. People would mum. It was called mumming. It was like a play, They would do plays. Informal groups of costumed community members would visit house to house on various holidays, sometimes around harvest festivals or festivals of the dead, and they would sing and sometimes get these soul cakes we talked about. Souling and mumming involved groups of people visiting local farms and cottages, and, the merrymakers would sing traditional requests for apples or ale or soul cakes, not water. Because, the Baywatching truthers that were going around spreading the dry gospel, they deserved nourishment after spreading it. We don't see mention of them ever receiving water, and we don't see mention of kids receiving water or candy on Halloween, like was what happens today.
Okay.
Because kids are getting water now. I don't know, these healthy trick-or-treaters, they act like it's healthy. So we're going to hand out water to the children on Halloween,
Well, they hand out everything on Halloween, just not some conspiracy. Do they hand out Bibles? They hand out Tums?
Dry bowls would be good. Tums, you heard about the Tums. You heard that here.
Well, I got it.
We both have Tums.
Tummies.
Mumming,
sometimes you need a Tums in your tummy.
Mumming practice in Germany, this mumming, and sometimes you get tumming. Bill would get a tumming when he was mumming. Practice in Germany, though, in Scandinavia and other parts of Europe, it involved masked persons in fancy dress who paraded the streets and entered houses to dance or play dice in silence. Where I read one thing, that's one of the
You want to play dice in silence.
you run into a person's house like on Halloween and you start playing a game and you don't say anything. In a weird costume.
Strange
scary
type of performance art.
Yeah. Or like, get off my property.
Yeah, like certain parts of this country you would get shot doing that for sure.
Mostly dry patriots. In England, though, from the medieval period up until the 1930s, people practiced the Christian custom of souling on Halloween, that thing we've been talking about, with the cakes and the singing and the little plays door to door. It involved, like, the group of soulers, both Protestant and Catholics, going from parish to parish or house to house, begging the rich for soul cakes in exchange for praying for the souls of the givers and their friends. That's what we've mentioned that would happen sort of in Europe, but now in the Philippines, the practice of souling is called, I'm not going to say it right, Pangangolua. And it's practiced on All Hallows Eve among children in rural areas. The children and people drape themselves in white cloths to represent the souls and the ghosts, and then they visit houses where they sing in return for prayers and sweets. And you see, Bill, this proves how contradictory the left is, because these folks in the Philippines They can drape themselves in white sheets, Bill, and it's a beautiful cultural practice. But when me and my fellow Baywatching truthers get together draped in white cloth with the symbol of our dry Christianity, the burning cross, we're told that we aren't welcome in the community. So, double standard.
Well, I can see you kind of saw where I was going with that. Yeah, because that's exactly what I thought, is that if you walk around door to door draped in white sheets, you're gonna get those same people that would have shot you for coming in to play some silent dice games are the same people who invite you in for dinner.
And you could play all the quiet games you want.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as you burnt that dry cross, which is the symbol of dry truth.
On someone else's lawn.
Anyway, trick-or-treating, does not seem to have become a widespread practice, Bill, in North America until the 1930s. Like I said, that's where it came. It started in the 30s with the first U.S. appearances of the term after FDR implemented it in 1934. He
implemented this as an edict? I'm just confused, why?
It's part of the New Deal. And the first use of
That is where I think you're both.
The
Part of the New Deal.
The first use in a national publication occurs around 1939, but you can see how it all comes around the same time as women's getting the right to vote, as the New Deal. It's a few decades after the Federal Reserve System.
So people have some fun. That must mean that's all tied into people getting more rights and having more access to society. And
the candy is bad too. The sugar it makes people too. It's like going to lead the children to having sex and wanting to.
Well, we were also
be indulgent.
subsidizing sugar a lot, and we were buying a lot of it getting a lot of it from Cuba at that time, which was basically a sugar plantation.
We'll have to do an episode about that. But we're going to talk is Halloween. We're going to talk about pet costumes to wrap this up, Bill.
Okay.
According to 2008, this is just interesting. According to 2018 report from the National Retail Federation, 30 million Americans will spend an estimated $48 million on Halloween costumes for their pet. This was in 2018. This is up $200 million in the past 8 years.
Now,
before
that does not surprise me, because if you're a grown adult, are you dressing up for Halloween? Most likely not. It's a vast majority no. Even if you go to a Halloween party, that's the rare occasion if you have to dress up. Yeah. But most adults, are they buying Halloween things for their pets? Oh, I bet you a way larger majority of percentage of adults are buying Halloween costumes for their pets. So
I'm sure of it. Yeah, it's a crazy market. What do you think the most popular pet costumes are? I have 3.
Okay, I want to say human.
Okay.
Just like how people dress up as cats.
Yeah.
I can imagine if I was a cat, I would want to dress up as a human.
Yeah.
So, but I guess the cats aren't buying.
That's your number one. That's the number one. You're doing 1, 2, 3.
I would think human.
Yeah. Okay. That's number 1 for Bill. His guess for the most popular pet costume. What's number 2?
Probably like a dog. Like if
a dog.
Yeah, like a cat was to dress like a dog.
Okay, so there's so many cat owners out there that the dog costume is overwhelmingly the second most popular pet costume.
Yeah, because the cat owners want their
maybe
funny.
I bet some dog owners even get a dog costume.
Well, that's what my third one. Well, no, that's just stupid. That's like a hat on a hat.
What's number 3?
A cat. Well, a cat for the dog owners.
Cat costume. Okay. You did not get any. Well, you kind of got one a little. You got the word
human?
Dog was in one of them.
Oh.
The number 1 costume, actually, is pumpkin.
I could see that. Just a big pumpkin dog. Yeah. I feel like I've seen that costume a million times.
Followed by number
angel.
2.
I was going to say angel.
Hot dog.
Oh,
so
I've seen that one. And
you had the right word.
A wiener dog costume.
And number 3 is bumblebee.
That's a little dumb.
Yeah. And the last thing, since, the evil people of the communist countries who eat their sweet dogs in their hot dog costume, we're going to talk about food.
Okay.
Halloween food on this Baywatching podcast. No, it's not just that. Also people, candy apples used to be very common. You remember candy apple?
Oh, I remember candy apples.
So candy apple used to be given out.
We would make them.
Yeah. You make them?
As a kid, yeah, you'd make them with my mom.
People would hand them out, on trick-or-treating
sometimes my mom
to children.
Did that.
But guess what? The practice rapidly waned in the wake of widespread rumors in the 90s that some individuals were embedding items like pins.
And that was when my mom stopped doing it.
Or razor blades in apples in the United States. But here's the thing. There is some evidence of such incidents relative While there
Really?
is
I thought that was always like bullshit. Like, because when I was a kid,
There's
they became,
evidence.
oh, we have to check your candy, make sure
yeah.
it's not open. Somebody tamper. And then when pop became legal, it was like your kids are gonna get
Get weird-
edibles,
yeah,
which
with
is like,
razors.
oh yeah, I want to spend $30 on an edible to give to a little kid, and then not even get the fun of seeing him high.
Right. Well, right. Well, while there is evidence, though, of such incidents of the razoring and the apples, relative to the degree of reporting of such cases, actual cases involving malicious acts are extremely rare and have never
Well, good.
resulted in serious injury.
Well, good.
Nonetheless, many parents assume that such heinous practices were rampant because of the mass media. At the peak of the hysteria, some hospitals offered free X-rays
I
of
feel
children's Halloween halls in order to find
my
evidence
God.
of tampering.
Oh my God, I feel like this was. Also, let's place ourselves in time. This was in the peak of It Bleeds, It Leads
Yeah.
in news.
Yeah.
And also the satanic panic bullshit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that. Like,
Should have been panicking about something else. I won't say it. I know you get frustrated, but like I say, virtually all of the few. Here's the last. It's not funny, but at the end of that, virtually all of the few known candy poisoning incidents involved parents who poisoned their own children.
oh, well, yeah, that makes sense.
So on that happy note, Eddie
and
got saved, and it turned out to be an old lady who was the daughter of a painter, and there also are ghosts. They're real, but I don't believe in them.
well, I don't think it said that they were real. What?
That
What?
door.
That's Mange.
I
told you.
She's dead.
What?
She's
No,
a ghost.
she's not
That's a
dead,
ghost.
dude.
That cat is dead, Bill. That cat
She
died
was
last
sick.
week.
No,
I
she
saw him
almost
take her
died.
away.
I was trying to tell
I
you
saw
this.
them take her away, Bill. I tried to
No,
save her. I tried to
she's
dehydrate her.
fine.
That's a ghost.
That's fine. She's fine.
Oh, heavenly
not
dry
a ghost. You
Jesus,
said you don't
there
believe in
is a
ghosts.
ghost.
Stay away, Drew. All right, I'm gonna go get some water for her.
God, stay back. You ghostly feline. You stay back.
All right,
you
Drew.
feline
All right.
of
I guess
death,
this is over now.
ghostly
All right, listeners,
water ghost.
Baywatchers, see us at Baywatching Podcast on Instagram, Baywatching P on Twitter. Check us out. Join the Rookie School. See you next week.
Die, you deadly feline ghost.